Do you know why we only had drones in 2015?
Because that was the newest tech, right?
Wrong, nigga. In 2005, the military already had hypersonic jets, Muff-Sane speed, radar invisible, flying higher than passenger planes, built with materials we still can't buy today. We were amazed by drones. They were flying machines to the edge of space. We used Wi-Fi like it was a miracle. Meanwhile, they experimented with wireless energy transmission, sending power through the air, silently, from miles away. Touchscreens blew our minds. But secret labs were testing brain-to-machine interfaces, real-life mind control, silent communication, no devices needed. We thought smartphones made us advanced, but underground bunkers had working prototypes of cloaking technology, devices that bent light, made things invisible. Here's the thing. Public tech is always behind, always controlled. We get yesterday's leftovers while they build tomorrow. It's not just about what's possible, it's about what's hidden. Ask yourself, why do we never see the cutting edge until it's safe? Because knowledge is power, and power stays in the dark. What if teleportation is real? What if they already cracked anti-gravity? What if time travel isn't fiction? Crazy. Sure, so were satellites, so were electric cars, so was the internet. But now, they're real. Imagine what's next. Not in 10 years, not in 20, but right now, today, somewhere in a lab, running quietly, changing everything, and we don't even know. Maybe we were never supposed to. Do you know why we only had drones?
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rav Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone and Ruel, and peace and salutations to the elect, the true nation of Israel, Yasharallah. Yeah, man. I just wanted to do a lesson on this TikTok because, brothers, and not just brothers in this truth, but people like Dabu7 and these other preppers and guys that call out, these truthers, man. All right. They bring this topic up, man. All right, and they're right, and we say it all the time, man. The technology you see in the public, all right now, like drones and robots and AI and whatnot, that's been around, man. All right, it's been cooking, in the military, labs and whatnot, behind the scenes, Area 51, that's what they do at places like Area 51. They don't got aliens in there, but they're testing technology, and whatnot. Okay, they're refining it. Okay, it's lucky. They're refining this technology that Esau is coming up with, man. Okay. The stuff that you see in these movies, okay, that they in these video games, that's them previewing it and showing you what they are preparing and getting ready, to let loose on the military, or in the public and whatnot, like these robots and whatnot, like Boston Dynamics, Boston Dynamics. It's like I got a stuffy nose out of nowhere just for no reason, man. It's like you. It's stuffy in this house. But yeah. Esau's been doing, he does like I noticed even in the video games back then, man, or right now, they or just in real life, not even the video games. I remember watching World War II documentaries and whatnot, and they had like a helicopter, or like they had technology, these militaries, the United States military, they got technology that's way more advanced than what they have compared to the technology for the public, the military, the United States military, their technology is way more advanced than the public technology that us, everyday people use, Even though these phones that we do lessons on, all right, and call people and, do things on is very highly technological, but Esau, the so-called white man, right? He's been had technology like this for decades before, right? And was using it. Maybe not exactly like this, but the technology that we see in the public right now has been around, all right. And yeah, man, this TikTok is based off of fact, truth, you know. Yeah, drones only been around since 2015, but you know, technically no, even longer than that, man. All right, it's just now being allowed to be, you know, uh, you know, be released to the public and to these other, militaries and whatnot, used for military use, you know. Because Esau, he comes up with technology, but he refines it. He makes these prototypes and whatnot. But that's just his blessing, man. I just want to continue on, saying that, hey, Esau, the so-called white man, all right, his blessing, this is his blessing, the sword, all right, this technology, okay, the killing instruments, because he'll come up with technology, or the Lord will put technology in his hands, and he's gonna turn it for evil, for killing, for a sword. All right, turn it into a sword, into a killing instrument. Because hey, look, these drones, all right, he turned them into killing instruments, man. All right, where they could see, radar, they could see through walls. They attach bombs to them. Okay, they're infrared. They can see heat. They're heat-seeking drones and whatnot. They got Wi-Fi, internet and whatnot. All right, they're highly advanced, man, and he uses them, all right, for, to kill, in these militaries and the Ukraine war all around the world, man. Okay, and yes, there's public ones, people that people use that aren't deadly and whatnot, but this devil, he'll come up with technology and use it and turn it into a weapon, because that's his blessing. He's wired and created to do that, man. All right.
Left sane speed. We used Wi-Fi like it was a miracle. Meanwhile, they experimented with wireless energy transmission, sending power through the air, silently, from miles away. Touchscreens blew our minds, but secret labs were testing brain-to-machine interfaces, real-life mind control, silent communication, no device.
That goes into MK Ultra and whatnot, and also like, how do you say it? This devil has gotten a hold of controlling the frequencies around the world, man. All right, through the airways, like the scriptures say, this devil, the devil is the prince of the power of the air, roughly paraphrasing, man. Okay, so this so-called white man, Esau Edom, he's the border of wickedness, he's the seed of Satan, and he's been given, all right, the power of the airways of the earth, and the power of the earth, man. All right, so he can exercise his blessing, so he has control over controlling certain minds. All right, he can control people's minds, man, literally, through technology, through media, okay, social media, mainstream media, okay, the phones, all right, all types of ways, man, and also frequencies, all right. He could literally direct a certain frequency at a person, from miles and miles away, and control that person if he really wanted to, That's the power that the Lord has given into the hands of this wicked man, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, okay? He literally has the power to do this, like the scriptures say, we're worms, okay? Oh, thou worm, Jacob, Us Israelites, us so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, we're worms compared to this devil, the so-called white man, and the technology that he has, and he's able to use against us, man. Okay. All right. But the Lord doesn't let this devil utterly destroy us all. Okay. All right. The Lord has made a boundary that he can't pass. Okay. And that's touching the Lord's elect and destroying all of Israel. All right. He's not going to do that, but he wants to. All right. you know. So I wanted to get this precept, man. This is Ezekiel 21:9. Okay, it says, "Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord, say, a sword is sharpened and is also furbished." Okay, what's that sword? The killing instrument, man. Okay, this devil, the so-called white man, is sharpening his technology of mass death. Okay, he's gonna let it loose on us so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, at the end times. All right, right before the Lord returns, when all hell breaks loose, and he tries to establish his new world order. All right, by way of his military. Okay, Boston Dynamics. There's gonna be robot dogs, robot armies, robot men. All right, who are programmed to by AI. All right, Palantir. All right, to attack so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. All right, Israelites. All right. Okay. And we're not going to have any defense against them, okay, other than our belief and faith that the Lord is going to defend us and save us from this devil. Because the scriptures say the devil is going to come down upon us having great wrath, because he knows he has a short time, okay? That's why, you know, with the amount of time that he does have, he's refining, his technology and his killing instrument, his sword. That's why it says a sword is sharpened and is also furbished. So while these people in this world, you wicked jakes, are worried about football, LeBron James, the NBA, okay, the championship, worried about these celebrities, worried about all this other bullshit, man, okay, getting the bag, while you worldly jakes, Israelites are worried about everything other than the Lord. This devil, the so-called white man, behind closed doors, behind your back, when nobody's looking, where nobody's looking, is refining and furbishing his sword, okay? The killing instrument, okay? Gearing up for war, like the scriptures say. His mouth, he speaks smooth as butter and soft as oil, but in his heart, war is in his heart, okay? He passes these laws saying that they're going to benefit the colored man, the Israelite man and women, but really, he has plans to destroy us, okay? Verse 10, it says, "It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Glitter with what? Blood. All right, death. All right, should we then make mirth? All right, should we then be effing around, playing around, worrying about everything other than pleasing the Lord? No, okay? It contemneth the rod of my son as every tree, okay? So, yeah, man, this devil, he's had technology. He's got this technology, already ready. It's been ready. He's just refining it and making it perfect and furbishing it. All right. When you furbish a sword and sharpen a sword, you're just making it sharper. That sword could already do some damage upon you, man. All right. But you're furbishing it, you're sharpening it, so it could easily cut and do maximum damage with maximum efficiency. All right. And that's what this devil's doing, man, by way of Boston Dynamics and the AI, Palantir, okay. All right. All right. Hey, before AI, well, it was called deep fakes, We all remember that, deep fakes. Oh, deep fakes. And it was conspiracy theories. All right. Oh, that's a deep fake. He has the devil has technology to fake somebody being on TV and in person and whatnot. When nobody's even there and whatnot. And now, bang, AI. We have technology for AI, man. Because one of his swords, one of his killing instruments that this devil has is persecution, is falsely accusing us All right, he uses that as a weapon, lying and falsely accusing, all right, the prophets, the Lord's servants, the Lord's people. Okay, he uses that as a weapon too. Okay, and he's gonna do it. He's doing it. One of his ways that he does it is by way of AI. All right, which is visual, not just speaking and saying a lie and framing somebody, but he's also gonna do it visually by AI. Which is, we all know what AI is. It's something that is created, that is like a video that's created by artificial programmed intelligence. Okay, but it's not real. It's real, but it's not real. It's not man-made. It can make an image, a video of a really, really, really realistic person that looks almost identical to somebody, man. All right, but it's not that person. All right, and that's how this devil's gonna lie and frame the Lord's prophets in the time of persecution very soon, man. Okay, so I just wanted to do a lesson on this topic, man. I'll get this out and then I'm gonna end it off. Genesis 27:40 says, "And by thy sword," speaking about Esau, the so-called white man. All right, let's get this. Genesis 27:38. It says, "And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, all right, and of the dew of heaven from above." All right, that's talking about, all right, the so-called white man, all right, being everywhere, in the mountains, in the oceans, in the skies, on the islands, all over the fucking place, man. He's everywhere. In Antarctica, literally, in the North Pole, all right, the Amazon rainforest, all right, next door to you, literally. The so-called white man has the fatness of the earth, the whole earth. Okay, verse 40, which is the point. It says, "And by thy sword," all right, the killing instrument, "shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke off from off thy neck." So that's how this devil, rolls, man. All right, that's his blessing given to him by Yahweh Shai, all right, through his father Isaac, all right, which is Yahweh Shai, before he was Yahweh Shai, okay, if you could believe that or not, all right. So the so-called white man, his blessing is killing, the killing instrument, all right. And what does he do? He furbishes and sharpens that sword as every single ticking second, time, day goes by, man. Okay, he's refining his technology of unaliving, and he's gonna use it and let it loose upon who? The Israelites, us so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, when he comes down with great wrath, like the scriptures say. All right, so I hope this is edifying to the elect. Shalom.